Macronutrients and energy. Macronutrients are the highest weight and energy parts in a food. We have the proteins, the carbohydrates, and the lipids. In relation to energy, the human body can transform any of these nutrients into energy. But that does not mean that a healthy person can eat only protein, or just lipids, or just carbohydrates. A balanced diet is needed. And what would be balanced? Who knows 33% of energy of each? How to know? Several surveys have determined a possibly ideal amount. Why possibly ideal? Why the Mediterranean diet has much more lipid than what health agencies advocate, and research shows that the Mediterranean diet is better for health. So think about it. It is important to have a balanced diet, and especially as natural as possible, and as diverse as possible. And if possible with meat reduction, mainly with the highest fat concentration. Many lines of thought idealize not being very careful about numbers, or quantitative data to feed. That may be good, but knowledge is never bad. In fact, understanding what occurs can help you understand how foods can be adjusted according to your needs. For example, the World Health Organization in 2003 stated that the recommendation is for people to have 55 to 75% carbohydrate energy, 15 to 30% lipids, and 10–15% protein. But DRI in 2001 recommended 10 to 35 of protein, 20 to 35 of lipid and 45 to 65% of carbohydrate. The Institute of American Medicine produces DRI, being therefore a reference determined by a country, and the World Health Organization is a group of countries. The question involves which one to decide. Using a more global concept, the logic would be to use that of the World Health Organization. In other words, the body can transform the macronutrients into energy, but the macronutrients have to be diversified. For example, it would be unreasonable for a person to think that he could live by taking only oil. So we have some research organizations recommend a percentage of these macronutrients. But how can we understand this in practice? First, do not worry about calculations, worry only about the practical. For this we will use a program that does all the calculations. For example, I want to eat beans, so I put 4 tablespoons to serve. What we see is that beans have higher carbohydrate values than protein and lipids. But the World Health Organization's recommendations dictate that carbohydrate energies have to be higher than those of protein and lipids. But this makes it difficult to know correctly whether we are following the recommendations or not. For this we use a normalized graph. The normalized is when you make different values become proportionally equal. That is, according to the graph, the more similar it is, the more similar it is to the recommended one. So eating only cooked beans, we see the normalized graph has its different sides and we see what protein is up, and lipids are below. Soon we can add a tablespoon of sunflower oil and 4 tablespoons of cooked rice. And here we come to the recommendation given by the World Health Organization. What can we understand? We can understand that rice, beans with a little oil is a good food. Never imagine the need to be calculating and analyzing numbers. Learn the foods that are good and use them. Now we can analyze various foods and see which ones are good and balanced.